Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, neighborhood gaming. Plus, we'll talk to Las Vegas's favorite columnist. Ray Hagar has the rundown.
Today's first guest is Michael Alonso. Can a neighborhood casino be opening near your house? And then we have Las Vegas Review-Journal columnist John L. Smith, who knows more about the happiest mayor in the world than anybody else. And is Oscar Goodman really going to run for governor? Can you drink that much gin and do the budget? Oi, oi, oi.
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Ty Cobb, Scott Bensing, and Dick Gamock. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
This was one of Sierra Power's main generating plants. It's right next door to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. These plants provide all the clean, reliable power that businesses need. TRI has 3 independent power generation facilities on site. For sensitive manufacturing companies and high-tech firms, this benefit is invaluable. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
Works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by Mike Alonso, who's with Jones Vargas. He's a lobbyist for them. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have you here. And this time you're going to get to talk. Your last appearance, you never got a chance. What do you think of the newly formed Independent Gaming Operator Coalition, which is comprised of smaller gaming properties across the state who don't really feel that the Nevada Resort Association is really looking out for their interests?
Well, I don't think the Nevada Resort Association's ever really looked out for their interests. I mean, you know, the membership of the Resort Association is even different between the larger casinos in Reno versus the strip the companies down there. So I think it's probably a good thing for the smaller operators or rural operators to come together, but I don't know how much clout they're going to have at the legislature.
Now, let's take a look at the future for a minute, Michael. In 2007, do you think gaming will come back and try to push some kind of gross receipts tax on the legislature?
I don't think so. Whether they do or they don't, I can't tell you, but I don't think so. If we have another tax session, I think it'll certainly come up, but I just don't see that happening unless the economy goes bad. I mean, right now we're going to end up with excess revenues and a surplus that's going to be political on how to give that back, but I don't think there's any appetite right now on the NRA's part, or the big casinos, to come back and start the tax debate over again.
There were a couple of interesting tax questions raised by Alan Feldman on the program a couple of weeks ago, where he did not want to see the banking industry get a reduction in their taxes, and he also thought that the entertainment tax should be expanded to include the gentlemen's clubs down in Las Vegas and in northern Nevada as well. Is that still the direction that gaming is going?
Well, I don't know. You know, Alan Feldman speaks for MGM Mirage, and they're even outside the NRA, and I don't represent the NRA. I just represent some of their members. And the bank tax, again, it's an industry-specific tax. I don't know why. I mean, there were a lot of politics last session over why the banks got hit, and it seems to me that it would be fair for the legislature to look at maybe reducing that tax or getting rid of some of the branch taxes and helping some of the rural banks at the very least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and I think it'll come out of the Senate, but maybe not in the Assembly.
Michael, here in Reno, there's a big issue near South Virginia Street. Many parents that send their children to Bishop Manogue High School are opposed to the plans to develop a casino, perhaps across the street and down the road. Do you think that casino will ever materialize?
I think it has a chance. That property was zoned tourist commercial, or a master plan tourist commercial, and as I understand it, zoned hotel casino at one time. I don't know why they let the zoning lapse on that, and what happened during that timing, which is very critical, is a high school and a church were built there. So it's probably a good place to put a casino if it wasn't for the school and the church, and I think that's really the tough issue that the City Council is having to deal with. And is it far enough away? It could be. I don't know. I haven't been involved in that issue, so I don't know how the votes are going to come down.
And the reality is that Tamarack Junction is just a couple of hundred yards down the street, so there's already a casino in play in that area.
That's right.
There are two gaming licenses that are in play in northern Nevada. The former Turf Club license was sold to a developer who wants to use the license near the Reno Sparks Convention Center, and the license that is held by the Peppermill and Harvey Whittemore, both proud sponsors of this program, that belonged to the old Reno Casino. The plan originally was for both developers to be able to build, because of the license, without rooms. But at this point, certainly the Peppermill property has already said that they're going to build rooms. Can they not just apply for a license independently, and doesn't that mean that the floating license is still in play?
Well, you may be right. I mean, it depends on how they do it. If they try to use the license, the transfer of the license, which is what we're talking about, transferring the old license, whether it's the Turf Club or the old Reno, then that's a license that by statute was allowed to be transferred if your property was condemned for whatever reason. In these two cases you're talking about, they were condemned for retract. So yeah, that could keep a floating license out there. I mean, that's certainly an issue. There is a bill at the legislature right now that'll be heard this Friday in front of Assembly Judiciary Committee that actually we're getting rid of the portability issue on these condemnations. Those two that are there, they're grandfathered in though. They're already, the horse left the barn a long time ago on those two. But again, the statute you're talking about, Sam, they have to get local government approval, and they have to get approval of the Gaming Control Board in order to be able to transfer that license, and then neither one of those casinos has gotten that far yet.
Michael, neighborhood gaming, big issue in Reno, Sparks, Washoe County. Do you think and Clark County, yes. Do you think that someone running for Reno City Council, Sparks City Council, or the Washoe Commissioners could get elected if he or she promotes neighborhood gaming?
Well, I think they could. I mean, the two licenses that Sam was just referring to kind of touched off a firestorm over neighborhood gaming, because the Turf Club then went to, southwest Reno over by Roy Gom, Harvey Whittemore and the Peppermill trying to move this license out into a neighborhood on the Pyramid Highway. But if it wasn't for those two things, what would the debate be about? I mean, the Farahis are now having the issue with Bishop Manogue, but that's because of a high school and a church. It's a very different issue from northern Nevada to Clark County, where casinos, large-scale casinos, are going out in what you would think a traditional neighborhood is. Neighborhood gaming is strong in northern Nevada. I mean, the Atlantis does an awful lot of locals gaming, the Peppermill, Baldini's, the Rail City. I mean, some of the most successful smaller casinos around here cater to the neighbors and cater to locals, but it just hasn't come out into our neighborhoods the way it did in Clark County. And I don't know that it ever will. I just don't think our city councils, both Sparks and Reno and the Washoe County Commission to a lesser extent, but I don't think they're going to approve a bunch of development of neighborhood casinos in our traditional neighborhoods. I just don't see it happening.
But would you put the odds of the former Boyd property that's now been bought by Stations Casino? The talk was when Blake Sartini bought it that it was going to be a $100 million development.
Well, it may be bigger than that. But remember that 96 acres has been zoned and entitled for gaming for 25 years. That's not going to be a surprise to anybody. That use permit never had an expiration date on it. So, but everybody I think has known that's lived in that area, or the competitors have known that property's been in play for a long time. They can pull a building permit and build a hotel casino there right now.
You know, the interesting thing I thought was coming out of Southern Nevada was that Clark County Commission had a meeting of interested parties about the growth of gaming. And when they had the meeting, they discovered that all of the gaming properties for the future have already been allotted in Clark County. There was nothing to talk about.
Right. And there's a bill, the Speaker has brought a bill to amend SB 208 from the 1997 session that would increase those distance requirements from schools and churches and developed residential districts even more. You're not going to be able to build a hotel casino if it's not already entitled and grandfathered in Clark County, unless you're really going out towards Lincoln County or other areas. It's just not going to happen because of those distance requirements. I don't know if that bill will pass without some amendment to it that shortens those requirements. But even right now in Clark County, under the current law, under what we call the Neighborhood Casino Act, it's very difficult to get a casino on that isn't on the Strip and isn't already grandfathered or exempted out of that statute going back to 1997. Very difficult to get a casino.
And that's where we got to leave it. Thanks so much for being here. Mike Alonso here on Nevada Newsmakers. We'll be right back after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Peppermill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Peppermill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Peppermill. Where are you dining?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
When you need a new employee, how can you be sure who you're really hiring? A background investigation by Employer Links will uncover criminal records, verify the applicant's education, check their credit history and Social Security verification. An investigation will research professional licenses and driver's licenses and let you know why they're unemployed. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by the Bard of the Boulevard. That's John L. Smith.
Oh, that's good.
Welcome to that's his line. Welcome to the program, John.
Hey, thanks very much. It's good to be here.
I've got to get right into this story here about the 2 former New York Police Department detectives, Louis Eppolito and Steve Caracappa, who actually turned out to have had a hand in 8 murders, 3 attempted murders, and lots of other things, according to your recent column. What's the latest on this story?
These fellows, of course, are indicted federally out of New York. The element of the case that is a Nevada-related case is the fact they've been in Nevada as residents for the last 10 years. Now, Louis Ippolito is a person I have met several times and basically bumped into, if you will, around town while I'm doing my work. He is a very likable guy in one respect, but also a very heavy guy in another respect, if you believe the federal prosecution against him. Where they're at now is headed back to New York. They basically will face a real common transfer. Their trial won't go for some time because there will be plenty of discovery. And at the bottom line, clearly they have an awful lot of problems in New York, but in my opinion, the murder and the mayhem and the kidnapping and what have you is historical in nature. A lot of these crimes were alleged to have been committed well over a decade ago. What is not terribly historical in nature are the drug case against them and the money laundering case against them. Those are Las Vegas charges. In my opinion, those are the keys to the whole case.
Well, John, we get the impression up here in northern Nevada that, Las Vegas has been cleaned up by corporate casinos and organized crime is just about dead, but it seems like it's really thriving down there.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I referred to Las Vegas as a kind of, La Cosa Nostra Sun City. A lot of these mob guys out of the East, they come out here with a pocket full of money, that generally will buy a house, live a fairly quiet life, and try to blend in with the community. A lot of them are retired, and a lot of them are semi-retired, and I consider Caracappa and Ippolito semi-retired. These are, of course, former New York police detectives who are decorated cops and guys who claim to have been super cops. My sources in New York have told me that they've been under suspicion for 20 years plus for not only pulling hits, but for selling information to organized crime, to Anthony Casso's people of the Lucchese family, and so I mean, a very, very checkered past. It'll make for a fascinating trial when it finally gets there. But the short answer is there's plenty of traditional mob on the street in Las Vegas. There are a lot of young Turks out there, and there's a very interesting growth of Russian, what I call Eastern Bloc, because a lot of it includes Yugoslavia, but of Eastern Bloc organized crime and Asian organized crime as well.
Well, it's not too good for the tourism trade, I think, but let me change the subject here.
Sure.
You're an expert on the happiest mayor in the world, he said, or happiest mayor in the universe, whatever comes out of Mayor Goodman's mouth.
Week.
Yeah, is he really going to run for governor? I just can't see this guy swigging the gin and walking around with the showgirls and then hunkering down and doing the budget, the state budget. That's a lot of work. Is this guy really, is he kidding or is he going to really run for governor?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, we've seen the last 2 or 3 governors. How many hours a day were they working? But the bottom line with Goodman is I don't think he'll run. The only way he would run probably is if some of these folks who are connected to the political machine continue to tick him off. He might run just for spite, and which would be entertaining for us. Not necessarily good for Nevada, but entertaining. And then secondly, he would only run if there was a complete collapse within the Democratic Party of representatives, and I don't see that occurring. Clearly, a lot of big horses are behind Richard Perkins. Some other folks like Dina Titus's chances. So, I mean, those are two pretty good candidates. So I don't see Oscar doing it. I also think Oscar really likes to be courted. He was kind of a half a showman as a kid, and actually dabbled in theater as a boy, and he loves that spotlight. And so I think that you've got a guy who would love to be asked to the dance, even if he doesn't plan to dance with you.
Okay. I was going to ask you, what stories do you think are not being covered at the legislature right now?
Well, it's hard for me because I've spent so much time out of state the last 6 months, but I would love to have seen I guess what I would say a reality check on property taxes earlier. I think that the lottery story was covered interestingly, but not overly well, because I think it was bad policy from the start. And to see Democrats who claim to stick up for the little guy, to see Democrats come out endorsing it, to me was a farce. And I would have loved to have seen some more. At least some more criticism of it, and maybe a little harder coverage. But we have a lot of issues here in the state that we're facing. I think full-day kindergarten, it sounds great, but it's also controversial. So, I mean, I think you've got a number of things that if we can cover as a media, and I'm guilty of this myself, but if we can cover it as a media more, I guess, holistically, if we can look at what's going on nationally rather than just looking inward to the latest soundbite from a majority or minority leader, I think we'd be better off.
I want to just bring up one last quick topic here in the last 15 seconds or so here. Your daughter Amelia, who we talked about many times in the program, is almost ready to come home, correct?
Yes, she sure is. We've got 2 more days of radiation in the aftermath of her brain tumor surgery, and Amelia's doing very well. People have been so kind to say prayers for her and say nice things, and we really appreciate it. The good news is that Smiths will be able to come back in about a week, and so we're really looking forward to it. I love Arizona, but 6 months is enough.
Hey, John, we wish you all the best, and we're delighted to hear the news. We'll talk to you soon.
Right.
Good luck, John. God bless you.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, just want to give a quick mention here. We had George Harris on the show yesterday. He's got his new magazine, Liberty Watch, and we had a whole bunch of phone calls asking how you can subscribe and get a hold of them. And so here's the information, phone number up on the screen there, 702-353-8068, or gopgeorge@cox.net. And it's also on both KVBC and KRNV's websites under Nevada Newsmakers. There's extra information sections under that Nevada Newsmakers area. So check out George's new magazine. It's like $36 for a year for a subscription. Okay, let's join our pundit panelists here. And we have Ty Cobb, former advisor to President Reagan, Dick Gammack, who's the Washington County District Attorney, and Scott Bensing, Chief of Staff of Senator John Ensign. So very interesting, I thought, Scott, that the Pope's funeral is going to be going on Friday. And there is a presidential delegation, and with the exception of Jerry Ford, all the former presidents are going except Jimmy Carter. And it's ironic to me because Jimmy Carter was the only president that actually hosted the Pope at the White House. Is it payback for what happened in the last election?
I don't think so at all. It's the president's prerogative. I think there's a lot of senators and congressmen who wanted to go, and there's only so much space. Bill Clinton's coming. We're happy with that.
He's on the plane?
Yes, he is. I don't think there's any more to it than that.
So Ty, what do you think?
Well, I think there were only 5 spaces the Vatican allotted, and the president would go to the former presidents. President Carter was invited, and he bowed out. There was probably some encouragement for him not to attend for that reason.
Okay, would you address the political ramifications of Pope John Paul II? Because, I mean, he was in large part one of the major players in bringing down the Soviet Union.
Well, Lech Walesa gives the Pope credit for about 50% of ending the Cold War, Gorbachev 30%, and Reagan 20%. I think there's some truth to that with respect to Poland. A lot of people don't realize that we dealt with the Pope and the Vatican in a normal state-to-state relationship. The Holy See is the entity that we dealt with. The Pope was the head of state. And the sessions where I was in with the President and the Pope was an integral figure and very much involved in the discussions on international affairs, particularly as it related to Poland and the Soviet Empire.
You know, one thing about the Pope, I was disappointed in his strategy with AIDS in Africa. The Catholic Church was the one cog that could have helped that epidemic, and the Pope chose to stay with the conservative view of no condoms. And if they would have pushed condom use in Africa, I don't think the AIDS epidemic would have been what it is. I think that was one of his major failings of his administration or his papacy. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, what's interesting, there was an observation made the other night when the Pope did pass away that I thought was a very interesting observation, that look at all the people in this world that Pope John Paul II is the only pope they've ever known.
Right.
He was there so long, and I think he did so many dynamic things. He's the most traveled pope. He's the pope that really went after a lot of the really losing causes throughout the world, and I think he's going to be missed.
And he was
fearless. Big shoes.
He was fearless. He from the Soviet Union onward, he took on anybody that needed to be challenged. I mean, he threatened to go back to Poland and be the Pope from Poland.
Well, in fact, Sam, he did. He asked the Polish government for the permission to come up there and conduct a mass. They resisted, and they finally gave in, which may have been one of the biggest mistakes they made, because there are hundreds of thousands in the square in Warsaw, and then he visited his hometown near Krakow. What I remember is that when we would have one-on-one discussions with President Mitterrand or Prime Minister Thatcher and President Reagan, we would always, one of us would be there as a note taker along with the president. With the Pope, though, he insisted that it always be just one-on-one, no note-takers, and the discussions we know that the President had were very fulsome and robust regarding what direction assistance might be given to the Solidarity and other resistance movements in Eastern Europe. The Pope was vitally involved and a major factor in the downfall of the Soviet Empire.
Let me change subjects here and to one that I think Scott will like. A headline in the Las Vegas Sun: top Yucca scientist opts for early retirement. Editorials abusing the science, the emails that we've seen. I actually want to start with Dick on this. Does this sound to you like this is going down in flames at this point? The nuclear industry is going to have to look at a different way to store nuclear waste because it's not going to be Yucca Mountain?
You know, we've talked about this one quite a few times on the show. I'm not really sure now what the future of Yucca Mountain is. You know, liar, liar, pants on fire. I mean, that was the worst thing that could have possibly happened to the project, was to have that kind of incident even happen. People lie about information and everything else, and then it be exposed and it come out and then try to, it's just crazy. That may be the fatal stab for it in this state. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. Again, we come back to there's been a tremendous investment made there, and just how much are they going to want to protect that?
Scott, what's the response in your office? Were champagne bottles being opened?
Well, no, I think, and everybody should remember, there have been a lot of funerals for the death of Yucca Mountain. And as such, we're still, even today, still spending between $500 and $800 million a year to construct it. I think Yucca scientist is becoming almost an oxymoron with the disclosures that people are making stuff up. And if you need us to make more stuff up, we can do that. Some of the excerpts from the emails that were part of a congressional hearing yesterday, it's all part of a case that we've been building, both the current delegation and others, for years, to try to show that this is trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. And you can try to make the science work, but that's not what Congress passed. That's not what everybody expects. They expect to make sure this thing is safe for Nevadans. So the news is heartening, but we'll see where it goes.
What we need to do is take all that Yucca money and build an underground casino resort there.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
This is one of Sierra Power's main generating plants. It's right next door to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. These plants provide all the clean, reliable power that businesses need. TRI has 3 independent power generation facilities on site. For sensitive manufacturing companies and high-tech firms, this benefit is invaluable. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Tomorrow, Tom Mitchell, editor of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We'll see you then.